الله 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 ما لنا مولى سوى الله 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 ما لنا مولى سوى الله.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. أما بعد، فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وقل رب زدني علما. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: إن من العلم جهلا، أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام: رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. All praises due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most gracious, the most merciful. Peace and blessings be upon Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us life, for us health, us wealth, and us peace. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. We also make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He continues to shower His mercy upon us, and that He also removes the difficulties from the Muslims around the world, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant Jannatul Firdaus to all the martyrs and all the Muslims who have passed away, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring peace to Philistine. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make the people of Philistine victorious. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them their land back. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have us have full control of Masjid al-Aqsa. So today's discussion is about the proper source of gaining authentic sacred knowledge. So to get into that, I want to mention briefly what is knowledge. What is knowledge? What is ilm? So the ilm, the general definition of ilm, is basically what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us at any given point in time. So right now you are here. What should you do? What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want you to do at this point in time, for example? Or if you take any 24 hours of your life, at any moment in your 24 hours of your life, how does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want you to spend each and every moment of that life? Any business transaction you do, when you go to work, right? When you buy and sell, when you get married, when you spend time with the family, when you communicate with your neighbors, communicate with your friends, with your relatives, what should you do during those things? How should you do those things? The information to do those things in the perfect manner is knowledge. So if we don't know how to do those things, then we need to learn how to do those things in the perfect manner. And what do you learn? You learn that information, and that information is called knowledge. So if you can get that right knowledge, then you'll be able to act upon it properly. Imagine if you got it, you realize that hey, you need to know how to perform a business, how to buy a house, how to buy a car. Now you go to someone and that person tells you something incorrect, tells you go get a loan, go to any bank and get any loan, no problem. Interest is fine, it's halal. In the US, in the Western country, it's halal. Someone tells you that, for example. And then now you've gained that information and you thought that's the way to buy a car. And then you go ahead and go buy a car. So what did you do? First of all, you gained the wrong information because you did not identify who you had to get it from. You got it and then you did amal upon it as well. And your amal is also incorrect as well. So now, and then you don't even know that you got the wrong information and you did the wrong amal. So how did it start? by you just going and asking someone who didn't have the right knowledge, and then he gave you the wrong information, and then you did amal upon it. So then your entire, all the steps, and then to make things worse, you go and propagate it now. You tell everyone else as well that this is how you buy a car, right? So when it comes to knowledge, there's three steps. First is that you gain it. And second is that you act upon it. And then the third is that you propagate it. But if you gain the wrong information, then you'll act upon the wrong information, and then you'll also propagate the incorrect information. But if you have the right one, there's a lot of benefits, you know. Through knowledge, not only you know what to do 24/7, you also are able to recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala better. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاء. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that the people who are truly able to recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the ones who have knowledge, are the ones who have the correct knowledge. And also, when you have the correct knowledge, you have the correct aqidah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also as well, right? You also know the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You also know the prohibitions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you don't have the correct knowledge, you are void of all of that. And your aqidah is corrupted. And you don't know how to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People will tell you that have taqwa, have tawakkul. You don't know how to do that because of lack of proper knowledge. So now, before we get into the source, how to properly get knowledge, the ulama, they have divided people into 4 different categories. You know, any person can be divided into 4 different, he can fall into any of the 4 categories. So they say that the first category is an alim. An alim is a person who knows the sacred knowledge, and he knows that he knows. So not only he knows, but he also realizes that he knows. So that's an alim. Second category is a ghafil. Ghafil is a person who knows the sacred knowledge, but he doesn't know that he knows. He's not aware of his knowledge. He forgot. So that's a ghafil. So what does a ghafil person need? He just needs a reminder. So a lot of us know a lot of things. We know that we should pray the nawafil, right? We know the different nawafil. We know that we should, for example, not backbite. We know that we shouldn't lie, but we, forget. So we need reminders, right? So a lot of times we are ghafil. Or a person, he knows rulings, he studied, but he did not propagate it, he did not do amal upon it, then he forgot. So then he's a ghafil person. It's somewhere there in the brain, but it's not fresh. So he needs to go sit with a person who is not a ghafil. He needs to go sit with an alim. The alim will quickly remind him that, hey, these are all the things that you know, and you should start doing amal upon it, start propagating it. Then you will no longer be a ghafil. Third category is a jahil. Jahil is a person who doesn't know, but he knows that he doesn't know. So he's a person who doesn't know, but at the same time he at least knows that he doesn't know. So what is he gonna do? What should he do is the question, right? Question is that what should he do? He should go to an alim and gain the knowledge that he needs, and then he will no longer be a jahil. So anytime you come across a query or a question or a concern about something in religion, that's when you need to go to an alim. You shouldn't let it just sit dormant in your mind. Then especially if it's aqidah related question that you have in your mind, you should seek an alim to clarify. That's when you are in need of ilm. Otherwise, you could end up in the wrong hands. You could end up, someone who is not an alim, and he will tell you the wrong thing, and then you'll have the wrong understanding. And then the worst of the category is a ahmaq. Ahmaq. Ahmaq is a person who doesn't know, but he also doesn't know that he doesn't know, right? So not only he doesn't know, he also has no clue that he doesn't know. So therefore, he doesn't seek knowledge, right? Or even worse yet, he doesn't know and he thinks that he knows. So how is he gonna get the right knowledge? Because either he thinks he already knows everything, or he thinks that he has the correct information, right? He is not aware that he needs to know. So that's the worst. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from being in that category. So therefore, every one of us should be open to gaining knowledge. Even an alim, he's not all knowledgeable, alayhi billah, right? Musa alayhi salam said to Khizr alayhi salam that, mine and your knowledge compared to the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like when they were at the ocean and they saw a bird take a drop of water, drink a drop of water from the ocean. And Musa said to Khizr salam that mine and your knowledge combined is like this bird's drop of water compared to the ocean. So if that's Musa salam saying that, imagine that. So who are me and you? Who are me and you? So we are always in need of more and more knowledge. Even an alim, he could think he's an alim, but for all we know, he might be an ahmaq, right? He might be an ahmaq. He might be thinking that he knows everything. And then he opens his mind up. He's like, let me just check. Maybe I know everything wrong. And then he goes to another scholar, several other scholars. He realizes, you know what? Everything I learned was incorrect. I was an ahmaq. And now that I'm studying with this alim, I'm realizing that this is the correct information. So everyone is in need of going to a scholar. Even the ulama, none of them you'll find that they have stopped learning. The moment an alim also stops learning, stops implementing, stops propagating, he has become outdated. At that point, he has become outdated. An alim also needs to continue study. Every one of us has, the way you have an app on your phone, if it stops getting updates, few years later it will stop functioning, right? The app will be so outdated that the operating system will no longer be compatible with the app. So same thing with your knowledge. If you don't gain it, if you don't keep doing amal upon it, if you don't propagate it, then it will become outdated, and then you are in danger. Then you're in danger. Khair. So now our knowledge of the knowledge of Sharia is very vast. A lot of times we think that this is we think of a hadith, we take a hadith from Sahih Muslim, Sahih Bukhari on even a particular topic, and we think that's it. That's all the knowledge you need regarding that particular ruling, that particular question. But that's not it. There's a lot that goes, there's a lot that's in our religion. That's just that one hadith is not enough. Our religion, our Sharia, is a holistic approach that includes everything from the Quran. It's tafsir. You have hadith, and hadith has its own principles, right? And then there's fiqh that's derived from Quran and hadith, and then there's principle for the fiqh itself, right? And then there's the understanding of all of these from the Sahaba. One is you take the translation of the Quran and then you get one understanding, right? But the Sahaba, they understood it differently. So are you gonna just go by your translation understanding, or are you gonna go by the understanding of the Sahaba, right? So we're gonna go by the understanding of the Sahaba. because they were the closest to the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They were with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? So who could know and understand our religion better than the Sahaba? Then after the Sahaba, the Tabi'un, right? The people who came after the Sahaba. Who could understand the religion better than the Tabi'un? So in our religion, the older you go, the older you can find a source, the better. The older the sheikh that you can find to study from, the better. When it comes to technology, you say that the latest, the better. Latest technology is the better. But even that, I realized, I thought about it, even that is not true. If you get a latest technology nowadays, it's full of bugs. Only 3 years later, it becomes good. Because initially, it's a half-baked product. They ship it because they have a deadline. And you start using it, half the things are not working. And they'll sell it to you with the promise that, in the fall of 2025, we'll give you this feature, that feature. It's not working. So therefore, none of the companies will implement that software because it is broken right now. They'll give it a decade. Come back in 5 years once you have sorted everything out. Once it's truly compatible with everything, then we'll accept it. So even technology latest is not really good. Maybe it has a shininess. It looks fancy. Similarly, you'll see a new scholar. He'll try to say something new, something that no one has ever heard of. And you know why? Because he's trying to be fancy. He's trying to capture your attention by saying something that's completely unheard of. So when you know what you should do, completely dismiss him. Don't give him an ear. So if you hear something that goes against everything that you've learned, then you should question that. So when it comes to our religion, we go as far as back as we can, right? And if you see a latter day, a lot of time nowadays people, they quote like a latter day alim, latter day scholar, and they're also following that scholar, and then they'll say that, oh, you know what, we go back to the Quran and Hadith, but they're following the understanding of the Quran and Hadith through a latter day scholar. And when some of us say that, you know what, I understand the Quran, I follow the understanding of the Quran and Hadith through an older scholar, through a Sahabi, through a scholar at the time of the Tabi'un. So then they call us, they would call me and you who follow, for example, let's say I follow Imam Shafi'i. I follow the understanding of Quran and Hadith of Imam Shafi'i. So they'll say that, oh, you don't follow Quran and Sunnah, you follow Imam Shafi'i. Is that correct or incorrect? That's what they do, right? So, but the reality is that what they are doing is that they're doing one of the two things. They're opening Quran and Hadith. They're trying to understand themselves. Can they make an error? What are the chances that they will make an error? The chances are very high, 99%. They might get some things right and they'll get a lot of things wrong. Understand? But if me and you follow the Sahabi, follow the Tabi'un, then the chances of us getting it right are 100%. Understand? So that's why we make sure that we get it from the right sources. Now, talking about sources, and inshallah we'll finish with that. Nowadays, because of the social media, it's an age of information, right? Age of information. Everything has been put online. All the books of ahadith are put online. But you know what? Because of the age of information, also a lot of batil has also gone online, So good things are online, but also bad things are online too. Correct knowledge is online, but incorrect knowledge is also online. So you need to know, you need to be able to decipher the right from wrong, right? So how would you decipher that? If you see a video of some person, explaining some, religious matter, and he has millions of views, he has millions of subscribers, is that the way to decipher if that's authentic or not? Is it? Is that it? That's not it. You know why? Because if you were sick, would you go to YouTube and then find, type in your sickness and find the highest, the most viewed video on there, and then you get your prescription from that? Could you do that? Would you do that? You'd never do that. So we'd never do that for our health. And then even for your, someone comes to you, says that, you want to build a bridge. Someone comes to you and says he watched several videos of, how to build a bridge. And then would you give him a contract, go make a bridge for me? You'd never do that. You tell him that go become a engineer, right? Mechanical engineer, study all the sciences under proper scholars. And then you could come to me, I'll let you. And then before that, build some, mock-up bridges, and then I'll let you build a bridge. But when it comes to religion, we're taking it from, the social media, whatever comes on our feed, we'll just take it. Oh, he said it, therefore that's it. Very popular. A lot of times, what we also do, we conflate expertise in one field with expertise in religion. You see an engineer or a doctor talking about religion. That's it. He's an expert. Maybe he's a real doctor. He's a real engineer. Now we're allowing him to also teach us religion. Is that wrong? That's very wrong. We should never let ourselves do that. Because if you were to try to find out where did you study, you'll find out that he never studied anywhere. You never studied anywhere, right? That person, if you ask him which madrasa, which scholar, which institution did you go, nothing. He'll always have a translation of a book. He might not even know how to speak Arabic. He's just going off of translation. That's it. Translation and then his understanding. Translation and his understanding. So that's complete misguidance. It's not half misguidance, it's complete misguidance. So these people, we are taking them as imams. We shouldn't do that. They are themselves misguided, and they'll misguide us, and they'll take us all to the hellfire. May Allah save us from that. Now, briefly, the best way to decipher, someone whether they are proper alim or not, proper scholar or not, is to figure out where they studied from. Figure out where they studied from, who their teachers are. One of the scholars says that al-isnadu min ad-din, this chain is from our religion. فَلَوْلَا الْإِسْنَادُ لَقَالَ مَنْ شَاءَ مَنْ شَاءَ. If you were to remove the chain, in our religion, chain is very important. Everyone who learns this knowledge, even for your memorization of your Quran, your chain has to go all the way to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Your understanding of Quran, understanding of Hadith, learning of Hadith, it has to go all the way back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you have to have learned it from someone who learned it from someone, and it has to trace all the way back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that is how we preserve our religion. If you remove the system of isnad, sanad, then what happens? Anyone can stand up and say whatever they like. Today I'm going to stand up, XYZ, and is going to stand up, say this is from religion, that is from religion, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said this and that. You'll find several ahadith that are fabricated, and they'll just say, oh, whosoever, for example, doesn't eat chicken, he does this and that, he is this and that. They'll make up stuff. And how do you find out that that's correct or that's incorrect? You have to check the sanad. How are you saying this? Give me your chain. So maybe he makes up a chain, and then you go look into that. Okay, you studied from this person. Oh, this person that you're saying that he studied from this person, his teacher died before he was born. How could he have listened from that person? So that, therefore, we're not gonna take anything you're saying. So you have to figure out his chain. Second thing that we have to do is we have to figure out what the other ulama say about that person. So so you are only even in the field of medicine, if all the doctors, they shun a doctor, they say that we no longer certify this doctor has gone rogue, so therefore you shouldn't go to that doctor, even if he is a real doctor. Forget a fake doctor, even a real doctor can go rogue. So even ulama, they can have fringe opinions, and then you should go check with other ulama. You'll check with other ulama. They'll say that what, this alim has a fringe opinion, or the worse yet, they'll say that this is not even an alim. None of us know of his teachers. None of us know of his institution he went to. So do not learn from him. Do not take anything from him. Right? So that's how you find out a proper alim. First is figure out his chain, his teachers. Second, check from other ulama. Check from other ulama. So once they give you a stamp of approval, then you can go ahead and study from that person. If they say no, then do not get anything from that person. And lastly, obviously the most important is that the person has to remind us of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? If a person, even if he's a scholar, person is taking us away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, telling us things that are leading us from away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that's not a good person. That's not a good person to sit in front of. That's not a good person to learn deen from. So 3 criteria: they have to have a chain going back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They have to be approved by all the ulama around us. So I'm not saying that don't take anything from the internet. There's a lot of authentic material available on the internet that you can benefit from. But before benefiting from it, make sure you check from your local scholars. They give you a green signal, then you can go ahead and benefit from it. I'll leave you with a quick story that I read online from a scholar. He mentions that once upon a time there was a barber, and the barber he used to cut people's hair, and every time he would come home, his wife would never recognize his expertise. She would be like, you are nobody. And that's how it is at home. You could be an expert at a field, but no one values you at home. He goes that I cut the king's hair. The king invited me, and I told the people of the king that I can cut his hair while he's sleeping. So he went to the king, and the king was sleeping. He cut his hair. The king woke up. The king was like, great, you did a great job. You cut my hair while I was sleeping. He comes back. He tells her that I did such a thing, so you should put some respect to this name, to my name. She goes, no. And you know what she says to him? She goes that the only way I'll respect you, the only way I'll give you that honor that you deserve of a professional barber is when you bring all the barbers of the town, and if they tell me that you're a good barber, that's when I'll tell you that you're a good barber. If they don't do that, what does a king know about a good barber? You cut his hair however you like. Even though he's a king, his expertise is running the country. He doesn't know what a good barber is. So you cutting a king holds no value. You cutting a king's hair holds no value. So you have to prove it through other barbers. The same thing is with your knowledge. If other ulama, they give you the stamp of approval, give someone a stamp of approval, then only then you should gain the knowledge from them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give myself and all of us the ability to keep gaining knowledge. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam only asked for one thing, to increase. He didn't ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, Ya Allah, increase my wealth, increase my health, none of that. So some asked increase in one thing, and that was increase in knowledge. Rabbi zidni ilma. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to all of us that waqur Rabbi zidni ilma, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase us in knowledge, authentic knowledge. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to gain knowledge from the right sources and to stay away from the wrong sources. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.